Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Do to Study. So here I am again with a new video of civics. That is, it's a second video from the chapter the President and the Vice President, and as you know, it's the second chapter of civics. Okay, so in the previous video we have discussed all about the election of president and the conditions and the qualifications required to be a president, and about impeachment and several factors and several topics we discussed in the previous video, isn't it? If you have not seen, then go and see it. And if you know all those things, then let's get started with the powers and functions of the president. Okay, so there are various powers like executive, diplomatic, legislative, financial, military, discretionary, and emergency powers. So there are many. So let's see how much we can cover today. Okay, so let's get started with the first power, that is the executive powers. So before coming to the powers, first of all you have to know what's the meaning of executive. See, as you know, laws are already there in our constitution, and it's our duty, or it's a duty of every Indian citizen to follow these laws. But although we know that it's our duty, but still many laws are not followed, isn't it? So executive, okay, just remove all this. Now concentrate on whatever things I am telling. Okay, so executive means it's the power that authorizes the president, or executive powers gives the authority to the president to execute the laws made by the parliament. To execute means to come or to lead the process such that the law will come to effect. मतलब जो भी laws बनाए गए हैं उनको काम में लाने के लिए या फिर उनको एनफोर्स करने के लिए जो पावर्स है वो है executive powers. Okay, so let's see what are they. First of all, he is the head of union administration. Yes, president is the head of the union administration of India. Okay, now all the executive orders, okay, they are issued in the name of the president. While we are discussing about the parliament, there also we discussed that all the bills and etc. are sent to the president for his assent. Because he is the head of the union administration, therefore his assent means that he has approved this law, or this whatever be in the paper, he has approved this. Okay, and his signature is very important as he is the head of the union administrative. Okay, now the rest union officials, they all are president's subordinates. Now we will discuss the second one, that is appointment of officials of the state. See, here state does not mean one state like Tamil Nadu, Andhra, or Kerala, or Odisha, or Bengal, or West Bengal. Okay, here state means our country. Understood? Now all important officials, they are appointed by the president. Okay, like first of all, let's start with the prime minister. The prime minister of India is also appointed by the president, isn't it? Now after the general election, the leader of the winning party, or the party that has got the most votes, the leader of that party is invited to form the government, is invited formally by the president to form the government. Okay, so furthermore, the prime minister and the council of ministers is appointed by the president but on the advice of the prime minister. Okay, now there are various other officials who are also appointed by the president, like the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, and also the judges of the High Court, and then governors of various states, and then lieutenant governors of the union territories, and auditor and comptroller general, and furthermore the Attorney General of India, and the chairman and members of the Union Public Service Commission, and the chairman and members of Planning Commission and Economic Commissions. So these are the persons who are appointed, these are the officials who are appointed by the president. Okay. Now the third one is control over state government. The union government can give directions to the state for its better governance. Okay. But if there is a state of emergency, then the whole power of the state comes into the hands of the President of India. Okay. Now the fourth one is union territories and border areas. It means that the control of the union territories and border areas is totally in the hands of the president. Okay. Now we will discuss the second one. Okay, so diplomatic powers. So before coming to the diplomatic powers, you have to understand that before coming to what are the diplomatic powers, you have to understand the meaning of diplomacy or what it indicates when we say diplomatic powers. See, the diplomatic powers enables the president to maintain relations between the foreign countries. Okay, so you all must be hearing in news that we have a good relation with other foreign countries. Now in this COVID season, we are supplying medicines to some countries, isn't it? So this diplomatic powers allows the president to maintain friendly relation or maintain relations with foreign countries. Okay, did you get that? Now let's see what are those powers that enables the president to maintain relations with foreign countries. First of all, it appoints Indian ambassadors in various countries. See, in all other countries, there are Indian embassies in which Indian ambassadors are there. Now, what's the role of Indian embassy or Indian ambassador? This is the Indian ambassador acts as a link between both the countries, maintaining friendly relations, and also if that respective country needs some help, or every relations is maintained through the Indian ambassador. Okay, that is maintained through the Indian embassy and Indian ambassador. So it acts as a link between both the countries. Understood? So the president is the one who appoints Indian ambassadors to various countries. Now the second one is he receives ambassadors from other countries, high commissioners, and the diplomatic envoys from other countries. It means that as Indian embassy or Indian ambassadors are all over the world, that is, are in every country, similarly, various ambassadors from other country also come to India, isn't it? That is, various embassies are also set in India. So the president is the one who receives the ambassadors and high commissioners and furthermore diplomatic envoys. Okay. Now the third one is all treaties and agreements are concluded in his names. Here the treaties and agreements, that is all international treaties and international agreements are concluded in his name. Okay. That is are concluded in his name means he is the one who is signing that treaty or who is sending that treaty and agreement. Okay. Now the fourth one is he represents India in international conferences. When international conferences are done, then the president of India acts as the representative of India. That is, India is represented by our president. Okay. Now the third one is legislative powers. Now, as we have already discussed, before starting every powers, we discuss about or we discuss the meanings of those terms, isn't it? So here also we will discuss, that is, what is the meaning of legislative or legislative powers. See, legislative powers enables the president to make laws, okay, or to change some laws. So these powers are endowed to the president by the legislative powers. Okay, understood? Now let's see what are they. he addresses sessions. Okay, that is, sessions in the parliament. So the president addresses the sessions of parliament. See, the president addresses both house of parliament assembled together. See, after the general election, both house of parliament, that is Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, come together for a general session. And this general session is addressed by the president. Okay. Now, in this session, he lays emphasis on the internal and external policies of the government, and he has the power to address either house of parliament or their joint sitting at any time. Okay. So now the second one is messages to parliament. So the president has the power to send messages to either house of parliament, that is either Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. Why will he send message? Regarding to any pending bill. Okay. If some bill is pending or any other matter, when the president feels that he should send a message, he can send it. Okay. The third one is summon and prorogue the house. What is the meaning of summon? Summon means to call for a session. Okay. Now normally the houses are summoned when, if there has been no sessions from the last 6 months. Okay, that is, if there is a gap between the sessions, and if that gap is more than 6 months, then the president has the power to summon the houses for meetings. Okay, that is, he can summon either of the house for the sessions. And furthermore, what is the meaning of prorogue the house? Prorogue means to to end the sessions. Okay, so he has the power both to start and to end the session. Normally, you know that we have 3 sessions. What are they? Budget session, monsoon session and winter session. Budget session is from February to May, monsoon session July to September, and winter session November to December. Okay, so if some of these sessions are skipped, or if there is a gap between 2 sessions and that gap is more than 6 months, then the president has the power to summon the house. He can summon either of the house to for the sessions. Okay. Now the fourth one is dissolve Lok Sabha. Yes, the president has the power to dissolve the Lok Sabha, but he cannot do it in the case of Rajya Sabha, because you all know that Rajya Sabha is a permanent body. Yes. Now the fifth one is nomination of members. While we are discussing the Union Parliament, we discussed that there are 12 members in Rajya Sabha who are nominated by the president, and there are 2 members in Lok Sabha who are nominated by the president. So these nominations are only done by the president. Okay. Now in case of Rajya Sabha, these 12 members are people who have excelled in the fields of social service or some sports, culture, isn't it? So in all these spheres who have excelled, the president nominates such persons. And in the case of Lok Sabha, the president nominates 2 persons from the Anglo-Indian community if he feels that this community is not represented well in the house. Okay. Now, the next one is assent to bills. Yes. This also, when we are discussing about while we are discussing the Union Parliament, there we read that whenever any bill is passed in either house of the Parliament, then at last those bills are sent to the president for his assent. Okay. Now it's up to the president whether he wishes to give the assent or not. That is, if he feels that this bill is not adequate or not accurate, then he may not give the assent, and he can send back the bill with some with some more advice, isn't it? By giving some advice, he can send the bills, he can return the bills. Okay, not advice, by giving some recommendations to the bill, that is, this should not be done or this should be done. He can give his opinion and send back the bill. Normally, the house tries to include the recommendations given by the president, but if the house does not accept the recommendation and send the bill in the same form again to the president, then the president is bound to give his assent. Okay. Now the seventh one is promulgation of ordinances. Now you know that ordinances are temporary bills they are temporary. You can say it as a temporary order, and the power to promulgate such ordinances lies only with the president. Okay. Now, under Article 123, the president can promulgate an ordinance which has the same status as an act of parliament. The president can withdraw the ordinance at any time. Now, what are the conditions when it becomes necessary to promulgate an ordinance? First one, the president must be satisfied that circumstances make it necessary for him to take immediate action. If there are such circumstances that he has to take some immediate action, then the president can promulgate the ordinance. Okay. The second one, he can promulgate an ordinance when the both House of Parliament are not in session. That is, if the meetings of the House are not going on, then at that time, if he feels that something emergency is there and I have to take some action by promulgating an ordinance, then there is no barrier. He can promulgate the ordinance. But if one house is in session and the other house is not in session, then also he can promulgate the ordinance. Okay. The third one is, the ordinance so promulgated should be laid before both House of Parliament when they come for the sessions. Okay. So, as you know, the ordinances are laid when the houses are not in session. Okay. But when they come, but after, as you know, कि ऑर्डिनेंस एक्ट में आने के बाद फिर से जब हाउसेस सेशन के लिए आते हैं, at that time the ordinance are to be laid before the house for its recommendations and for its consideration and recommendation. Okay. Now, if both the houses agree to it, then it is passed as an act of parliament. That is, if they do not oppose it, then what did I say? What I said was wrong. If the house oppose it, then the power of the ordinance is seized. But if the house does not oppose it, then after 6 weeks, the power of ordinance automatically ceases. Okay. Now, after 6 weeks, here I meant to say after मतलब कि जब ऑर्डिनेंस जो सेशन होता है, ऑर्डिनेंस प्रोमलगेट करने के बाद जो सेशन हुआ हाउस का, वो टाइम से लेकर 6 वीक्स तक. ओके, अंडरस्टूड. See, if the parliament does not approve the ordinance, it lapses. But if an ordinance is not disapproved, it will automatically cease to operate at the end of 6 weeks from the date of parliament reassembles. Understood? Then the ordinance lapses if it is replaced by an act of parliament. If the orders passed by the ordinance lapses when those same things comes as an act of parliament, is passed as an act of parliament. Understood? So these were the conditions when ordinances are promulgated. Now the 8th one is assent to some state bills. So there are some bills that are passed in the state legislatures, but they are held by the governors to consider with the president. Okay. So such bill. So it's up to the president whether he agrees to the bill or not, and whether he wishes to give his assent or not. Okay. Now, the president can refuse his assent to such a bill and send it back with some recommendations. Okay. Now, the bills affecting matters of High Court are always kept for the consideration of President. Understood? Now the eighth one is, okay, here there is one more point, that is formation of new states. All the decision regarding the formation of new states or changing the areas covered by some state is up to the President. So the President makes decisions on such matters. Understood? Now we will discuss the military powers. That is, what are the military powers that can be exercised by the President. First of all, the President is the supreme commander of the armed forces of India. Understood? So from this only you can understand that all the major responsibility or all the major decisions are taken by him or in consideration with the other officials, Okay. The second one is he appoints chiefs of 3 wings. You all know there are 3 wings, isn't it? So in all these 3 wings there are chiefs, and those chiefs are appointed by the President of India. And the last one is declaration of war and peace. That is, the President has the power to make declaration of war and peace on the advice of Council of Ministers. Okay. So here we completed the military powers. The rest of the powers, including financial powers, discretionary powers, emergency powers, etc. and etc., we will be discussing in the next video. Okay. So till then, study well and bye bye.